Hi everybody, my name is Melanie Rogers and I'm inviting you all to tune in to my show, Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow, every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on clearsourceradio.com and iHeartRadio. Hey everyone, you are now listening to Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow on the Clear Source Radio Network. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. You're listening to Flip the Switch, How to Find the Light in Every Dark Shadow on Clear Source Radio and iHeartRadio. Clear Source Radio, radio network based on people who inspire people. I'm your host, Melanie Rogers. Okay, so tonight's very laid back. It's going to be a very nonchalant show. I don't have a whole lot of thought directly on the subject, so I don't really have a subject. I know everyone's been busy. There's so much going on out there. I mean, it's December. Can you believe it's December already? That's insane. I have a theory, which I will get to momentarily, as far as the fact that I keep putting that out there and keep reminding people how fast time allegedly is going by. And time's supposed to be relative, okay? Whatever that means. So anyway, I don't know if me constantly reminding people about how fast time's going by is a good thing or not. I have a little story there. I'm going to tell you that momentarily because this is just going to be a laid back, whatever comes up show with just a few little things I think I wanted to kind of bring out. So let me see. Because, like I said, there's so much going on, people getting ready for Christmas, me as well. So many lighting of the Christmas tree events going on around me, so many concerts, so many just fun things. The weather's been great here. Well, off and on. There are days where it was just raining crazily, and there were days where I was outside in my shorts in December. Okay? It's so sporadic, but it's been beautiful, and it's really, really hard to stay indoors or concentrate. It's really hard to concentrate on deep, deep, deep life stuff or lessons, I guess. Yeah, I get scattered. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm like Kelly Bundy who just, squirrel or, looks at the nearest shiny object when there's so much going on around me. I'm also an empathic person, so I get anxiety. There's too many options. There's too much going on out there, and I want to do it all, but at the same time, I need my time alone. And then I start feeling guilt for not doing. And are you feeling this way? I feel for you because I've been experiencing anxiety lately, so many different things. And I've been really working on trying to ground that out, really working on getting myself nice and grounded with many different life scenarios and just in general grounding my energy before the end of the year with purpose. So anyway, I'm going to go back because I'm already all over the place. That's what I was trying to say though, is that with so much going on out there, I just decided to come on and maybe just, chat and see what comes up. Part of my focus is the fact that it is December, and I think it's a good time, instead of waiting till the end of the year, to talk about what I've been talking about the last 2 years. Actually, since the show started, the first year the show started in 2016, talking about how we look at the year as it goes by, and as it gets closer to the new year, a lot of people, I think most people, start paying attention to the new year as some sort of saving grace. And the past year, what we tend to concentrate on is the negative, So there's different mindsets. You can go back and listen to my show about that, because I actually, personally, I'm not biased or anything, but I thought it was an interesting concept. the idea of why do we hold on to that negative stuff to where we seem to be running away from the year, the present year, when we're getting ready to hit the next year? Why does it feel like we're all running to that door, okay, to start anew? Starting points are great. I absolutely love having starting points in life. Sometimes I do it. I'll wake up randomly and say, okay, today is the first day of the rest of my life. Let's just start over in different areas. Maybe mindset. Maybe I'm going to have a positive attitude. Maybe I'm going to look at this situation in a different way. However, whatever the scenario is. But I've always loved New Year's, the beginning of the year, as being a good, like everybody, I think most people, as being a good starting point. Kind of gives us time to clean up some muck, or I guess give ourselves a good reason to feel bad or whatever, deal with whatever. And almost like the beginning of the new year, we're not allowed to feel that way anymore. Suddenly, we are striving for everything to be great and all that. Now, that's a double-edged sword. When we do that, here's how I look at it. When we are racing toward the next year in hopes of a new beginning, paying attention to and holding on to the negative feelings that we have felt in the present year, there's a couple of things in that. One is we're running away from things that are trying to get our attention. And I've really been concentrating on that. You know that if you've been listening to me, you know that. Instead of running away, suppressing, whatever, using some starting point like the beginning of the year as some magical golden door I'm going to walk through, and all of a sudden, everything in the negative that I've felt like this year is going to change because my mindset is make it good. I don't necessarily believe that 100%. Now, I'm one of many who would put out things about, put a smile on your face and just decide how things are going to go. I don't necessarily believe that anymore 100%. I think that if you have pent-up issues, if you have things that, you're running away from and you don't deal with and process or even figure it out in the first place, then putting that smile on your face and making a determination that things are going to be great is not possible, because the muck comes up when you least expect it. You have to process things. So, my point is, healing is a huge thing. It's the most important thing in the world. Getting to know yourself, I believe, is the most important thing in a lifetime. Okay, unless we're dealing with problems. And problems or issues arise, which is what we're holding on to with that negative mindset about the year. If you're looking at it going, I need this year to end because it was a horrible year, this is the golden opportunity to pay attention to why. What were the negative experiences? What happened? How did it make you feel? Why did it make you feel that way? What are your reactions? Does the situation need to change? Do you have to deal with your own reactions, i.e. me? Okay, what in life needs to change? Why is the universe throwing this stuff at me, making me feel however you feel in a negative way? Processing all of that to become who we're supposed to be, I think, is the most important thing in the world. Okay, here's a quote that I saved. This is funny. On a little side note, people want to get to know me. They want to, if people want to get to know me and they want to know what I'm going through moment to moment, month to month, whatever, I've come to realize that there's two great sources. My Facebook and my Instagram, mostly Facebook page, because whatever we pay attention to and whatever we read, like articles, I think we all jump onto different articles and such, all of a sudden those targeted ads start popping up. And here's the thing, I can be talking about something on my phone, and because of the permissions, all of a sudden ads start popping up. Not just ads to buy, like blogs and the websites that have explain things, relationships, and when you're feeling this way or that way, right? To a scary extent. Sometimes I just think it and it pops up on my Facebook page. But the moral of the story is, when you want to get to know somebody, if you get on their Facebook page, those ads are so targeted, my whole feed is filled up with everything that I feel I'm going through. And that's a little freaky. in a way, and it also feels like synchronicity and signs in another way. So I sit here going, okay, this is just an article. Should I pay attention to what it's reading? It's targeted toward me, so is it really a sign? You know me, I struggle with that. But that's one way you can get to know somebody, is through their Facebook feed. You can look and see what they pay attention to. You can look and see how those targeted ads are responding to our brain waves. And I'm not really laughing or not really joking about that too much. But also, I've realized that I have so many saved memes and quotes on my phone. I have 427 just in one folder. I never realized that psychologically that's what is happening, is when I'm on my phone going through like Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, that as I'm going through different situations, I start saving all those quotes. Now, why am I saving them? I have no idea. It's not like I'm going to put all of them out there for the world to see, but it's almost like a little therapeutic thing for me. It's almost like having a I know this sounds crazy, but it's almost like you're having a conversation with somebody and they're saying it to you and you're agreeing with them. So you save it like, okay, I'm going to keep this in mind. I don't know. My mindset's kind of weird, but in looking for this particular quote, I realized that I had 427 saved quotes. When I start going through those quotes, I have a little bit of a timeline. I realize what I've been going through at different times because I will have a handful of these memes and quotes saved in my phone, and it takes me right back to my mindset during different situations in life. So I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but like I said, you ever want to really get to know somebody, if you say, Mel, if you trust me 100%, I want to get to know you. Hand over your phone, hand over your computer. You're going to understand the journey I've been on, at least over the last couple of years. It's really interesting. But, okay, with all that being said, I looked up this quote. In telling you that my belief of the most important thing in a lifetime is to get to know one's self, which I've really been on that journey. Now, who are we? Okay, this is a random show tonight based on coming of the end of the year. So, bear with me when I'm going all over the place like usual, I know. But who are we? Okay, are we that scattered mess that is full of experiences? Or are we the core person and all those experiences and all those, I don't know, everything that's gone on in life? Have they suppressed who we are? Or have they changed who we are, pushed us in a different direction? Is that what life's about? I know we grow and we change, and it's the butterfly effect. One little thing can happen, and it could change you. It can change who you are. It can change how you think, how you feel. It can change direction. It can change opportunity. One little tiny thing can change you meeting this person over that person. It could change everything. I get it. That's life. But I always wonder what life really is, if there's a blueprint that it's already in the stars on exactly what's going to happen through life. And it's kind of like someone standing up there looking down, watching us on that road and going, okay, here's about the time where she's going to experience this and it's going to be a roadblock and she's going to turn that direction. Or if the blueprint of our lives actually changes, like the butterfly effect, based on those experiences. Now, are those experiences who we are? Some people say yes, I've seen that before, of who we are at our root is a lifetime of experiences and that's built us into who we are. Or are we truly who we are at our core? Is that the person we are supposed to be without all of the added life lessons or muck? Not life lessons, opportunity for life lessons, experiences, pains, and such that we have not dealt with piled on. So getting to the actual who we are, do we need to process all that to figure out who we are? I believe that. I believe in both. I believe that we are both. I think that the issues that we have, that we've dealt with in our life, can change us and can push us in a different direction. But I think that any pain, anger, all this that is unprocessed is suppressing us from figuring out who we are to our core, the best version of ourselves. Okay, so anyway, here's the quote. It's maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you so that you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. I found that really interesting. I really love that quote. like I said, I found out a whole lot about myself just looking for the quote as I went down, my little timeline. And that's just, something that I recently realized, that all these last couple of years saving all these quotes, saving all these memes, was basically almost like writing in my journal. So isn't that fascinating? So we're, I guess, going to add that to whenever we talk about, and like we have in the past, different ways to ground ourselves, different ways to deal with things, or whatever the scenario is. All right, so once again, maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming anything. Maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really you, so that you can be who you were meant to be in the first place. I read that as anything that's been piled on to suppress who we truly are. Okay, maybe it's unbecoming those things. And what is that? It's peeling like an onion. I already did that show. I did the show Healing Like an Onion, with the visualization of peeling like an onion. Peel off all the muck, get to the root cause, figure it out, deal with it, process it, let it go. And then you're back to your core person to a certain extent. And I think a lot of us take a lifetime to do that. I think those of us who are considered enlightened, this stuff comes to us. We have that drive to fix ourselves, okay, to become who we are. We have that deep desire to figure out who we are. And the thing is, a lot of people think they know who they are. I think that there's a lot of this deep life spiritual stuff that comes into play to actually figure out who we are. Think about it this way. If you're somebody out there who says, I know exactly who I am, say you have one case scenario comes up in life that you weren't expecting, that affects you so deeply, whether it's the loss of somebody that you weren't prepared to lose, or just something happening to you that you never expected, okay? Those kind of things will shake a person up. How you respond to those things, how you deal with it, how you process it, all that kind of stuff can be the difference between who you think you are and who you really are. Now, here's an interesting scenario. I'm glad that I kind of led this way. Okay. I recently had lunch with a friend of mine who happens to be the dude that played the Leatherface on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Okay, his name is I can't speak. R.A. Mikaloff. Okay, so I met him over and over at different paranormal and horror conventions, and we became friends. He came into town, so I met up with him. We went to dinner. So before we ever got to dinner, we got into this really eerie conversation, and it was about, I won't go too much in detail because I don't know how much of that is, because it was actually a serious conversation, but we ended up talking about, and this really had nothing to do with the horror movies, so it wasn't like I'm sitting here talking to the guy who played Leatherface, so we're automatically talking about horror movies. It had nothing to do with that, but we were talking about reality, and one of the scariest things in the world is basically when that kind of the Armageddon thing happens, or when all of a sudden we get knocked off the grid. And he used the word, there's an official word to it, and I don't remember, a word or a phrase or whatever, and I don't remember what that is, but it was basically about how we're so connected with electronics and all of that we could so easily, like, we would lose access to everything, like electric, nothing would work. We would have nothing. Excuse me. So our survival mode would have to kick into effect. And how many people this day and age right now are, excuse me, could truly go into survival mode and actually survive? Okay. It was a deep conversation, like I said, because it's, if you've ever seen any of the documentaries or the movies that kind of broadcast the possibility of what would happen, you start seeing how people become very, very defensive of other people. You start off kind of being the community, coming together. Oh my gosh, we have to get out of here, group up together, power in masses. And it ends up coming to the point where you're fighting for food, you're fighting for everything, to where you would kill somebody. Not everybody will do this. This was the conversation we had. Anyway, I'm getting back to the topic. When we were talking about that, he very seriously told me, he's like, you never know. He says, that's the thing is, and I have had this conversation before with another person years ago, and it really made me think about if I could be a survivalist in that way. And he says, you never know how far you can go to survive until a scenario like that actually happens. He says, and that really makes sense. It's true. Your first instinct would not be your last instinct. people would go, if you watch any of those documentaries, which scare the bejeebies out of me, people go from, like I said, trying to help each other out or just being a little cautious to, by the end of it, it's you're killing each other for food. You're killing each other just because it's an automatic thing. If I don't kill you, you're going to kill me. Instead of that working together mode, we go back primal, I guess. But even worse, we lose our civility. And that's what we were talking about, is we have no civility left. All of a sudden, it's no social. It's not social. It's not civil. We go back to, Neanderthal or whatever. Okay, so bringing that back to what I was talking about is, do you truly know yourself? We think that we know ourselves until something major happens, and our own reactions could scare us. Our own reactions could surprise us. Okay, who we become could be somebody we never saw in the mirror. All right, so moral of the story is, I still believe that the number one thing, the most powerful and the most important thing that we can do in a lifetime is peel off everything that may have suppressed us and pushed us in different directions so that we can get to the root core of who we are. And also, that's just a way to be happy. Now, that's what's leading into what I wanted to really kind of talk about. And like I said, I'm not waiting until the last week to talk about this. I think it's a good time right now. We have a month. Okay, with that frame of mind of New Year's that I've talked about every year, I talk about that frame of mind for New Year's. Yay, we're almost in a new year. I can't wait for this new year so that all the muck of this last year, don't let the door kick you in the butt 2000, don't let the door kick you in the butt 2018. 2019 is my year. Okay, we're going to start seeing that as we come closer to New Year's. All right. Now, what I've talked about in the past, and this is what I truly believe, and I'm finally starting to really practice it, and that's the big deal. That's why I want to tell you. Practice it with me. Maybe try it. Instead of just waiting for that magical date and picturing that golden door that's almost like a magical door. 2019, it's got it written right on there, new beginnings, okay? And running full blast so that when New Year's hits, we run through that door 2019 and everything's supposed to miraculously and magically be good again. All of a sudden, life is going to be exactly what we want. We've got this. Now, a lot of people will say, and I used to as well, say that you determine your frame of mind. You can determine everything, and I do believe in that. I believe in the law of attraction. I believe in the secret. I believe in, thoughts are things, and, having power over your own thoughts will create your reality. I believe in all that, but you also know that I believe in healing. I believe in picking up the muck, digging down in, and releasing it, because otherwise it'll still come up. It'll hold on to you like a chain to your foot. Okay, so combine those two things. If we can master both of those, then oh my gosh, picture the life that you'd have if you can uproot all of the muck. If you can take every bad scenario or the residue, because that's how I'm going to picture it, leaving the year. A lot of us will hold on to the residue. It's almost like that negative residue. And why do we hold on to that in an attempt to start over at the beginning of the year? I think that residue is left there because we haven't released whatever it is. We haven't processed and released whatever it is that caused those negative feelings. I've been doing that. I've been really concentrating on it, and it's been happening on its own. What I have experienced, and if you've been listening to the show for like the last year and a half now, closer to about over a year and a half now, that concentrating on what is trapped, allowing stuff to come up, digging down deep and figuring out what issues are and why my reactions are certain ways in certain areas and all this kind of stuff, it starts coming up naturally on its own because I started the process. Okay, so be ready for it. When you're going to dig down deep and you're going to try to figure out who you are, when you really want to find that core person and you dig down deep and you're trying to get rid of all the muck and process it and figure it out and figure out who you are and how you became who you are and who you want to be, and if you want to go back to that person before life changed you, i.e. me and such, that you're starting a process. And after you kind of accept that, yes, this is what I want to do and work on it, it starts coming up on its own. Okay, it doesn't come up in a pretty way. You know that. You know that because I've talked about it on different shows, how I just went through a horribly dark time. And that was random. In a certain respect, it was random. In a certain respect, it was almost, it just made sense why it would come up. But that's why the stuff suddenly started just coming up. Stuff I wasn't even, life lessons and everything else I wasn't even prepared for. And it's because I opened the door. It's almost like if you picture in the paranormal world, they say, be careful what doors you open when you ask for something. You could be opening the door to darkness. Well, in this case, I look at it the opposite as I'm opening the door willingly so that the darkness can come up. And when it comes up, it comes all the way through your soul because you have to process it. It doesn't just come up and get released. It comes up. And it's almost like digestion. It's almost like, detoxification of your body. It goes from one organ to the next. Well, that's what's going to happen when this stuff comes up if you visualize even deeper. Is that it's going to come up, but you're processing it the whole way. And when dark, ugly stuff from the past or stuff that's been trapped or even old just negative feelings and emotions about ourselves or whatever comes up, it gets processed again, and as it processes, it takes us back down that dark hole. So that's where we have the opportunity to try to push it down, suppress it, try to give into that darkness and stay down, or deal with it and let it come up and release it for good. Okay, so here's what I ask people to consider when we're talking about New Year's being what it is. Look at that bright, shiny, golden door with excitement. Yes, that is going to be my time. 2019 is my time. 2019 is mine. Okay, I'm going to own it. Guess what? We have work to do before we get to the golden door. Otherwise, we're not going through a golden magical door. We're going in a rotating door. Is that what you call them? A revolving door. Picture that. If we don't deal with the residue left over from the previous year, which is what we tend to hold on to and run away from. The residue is leftover feelings, emotions, situations that were unprocessed. In my mind, this is how it works, so that we can clean it off, wipe it off, rinse it off, whatever. It's got to come to the surface in order for us to rinse it off. Sometimes it comes up, we let it stay down, we run from it. We run toward that door, we end up in a revolving door, and guess what? Next year, the end of next year, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be holding on to the same negativity because we're still going to be prompted or triggered or whatever, and old emotions are going to come right back up. We're going to look at situations in a negative way. We're going to hold on to that, and we're going to say, 2019 kicked me in the teeth. When do I deserve better? Well, guess what? All of those life lessons, that's exactly what they are. All of those aches and pains, things that we are not allowing ourselves to process. We're not allowing ourselves to feel it a second time as we are able to process it and release it. All those things are just going to keep coming up. I know this, okay? And as they keep coming up, that's what ends up happening, is that we repeat it. It's just like being in a bad relationship. It's just like when, for whatever reason, whatever we have trapped leads us to certain types of people, relationships, friendships, jobs, whatever the scenario is. And we sit here going, how do I break away from this routine? We've gotten on some sort of routine. We react to things over and over again the same way. Okay? When you're trying to break away from that, it's a matter of figuring out why we are drawn to certain people. Say it's a domestic, a lot of people in domestic abuse situations, they tend to attract and be attracted over and over to the same situations. Well, that always starts somewhere. It's not just random. It always starts somewhere. So it's the same scenario. At some point you have to decide, okay, why am I attracted to and why am I attracting to me these scenarios, whether it's domestic violence or whether it's certain jobs or certain friendships or anything, absolutely anything. We have to try to figure out why we are attracted to it, why it's attracted to us. Get to that root core, figure it out. I've talked about this over and over, but this is why this starting point of 2019, we have time. Now, I've been working on it for the last couple of months. If you listen to the show, you know that. I have been dealing and processing with different things as it comes. Still have a lot that I feel, but I realize more and more that extreme dark feeling is really my own self processing it, finally processing stuff that I never allowed myself to process. You start feeling the pain and you push it down and you run from it. You try to suppress it. You try to make yourself feel better. Okay? We talk about that. That's a panache desai thing. Panache desai was basically saying the same thing, is feel your emotions. Let yourself express your emotions. If right now you're looking back, and I will admit it. Me personally, on a personal level, and you already know this, if I would describe 2018, it has been one of the most painful years of my life. I opened myself up for the first time in a long time, emotionally, in the heart area, romantically, I guess. And that was very painful. Okay, went through many different, was triggered in many different ways, went back to the past, started feeling insecurities, started, having issues with self-esteem, all this kind of stuff, and realized that that is what is that, when you have a gerbil or whatever, they're on those little, oh my gosh, I can't think what it's called, but just like a rotating door, let's just say, okay. The wheel. It's like you're on the wheel, okay? I realized that with 2018, it's like I was on this wheel and old feelings are coming up. I'm being triggered in the same way, but now that I'm aware of it, I'm going back to where the damage started and I'm going to deal with it and process it so that I can look at the situations in 2018 that I've dealt with or that I've experienced and look at that as life lessons. Very important life lessons when it comes to relationships. Okay, so that's one of many things that has been, I've had random things come up, just like I said, get unleashed, whether I got triggered. In different scenarios, I got triggered and it released things that I didn't realize I was really holding down, a collective thing. When it came to the whole Me Too thing, when it came to, the big court case, the Kavanaugh, all that kind of stuff, like I said, I'm going to go back into that. It's just the reactions from people that triggered me, not that court case in general. I really don't have an opinion about that. But it was the reactions from people. Well, now because of those reactions from people, I got triggered and I sat here going, whoa, what's going on? Whoa. Because it was stuff that started releasing quickly, coming up. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't think that was as much of an issue as it was, but then start thinking in different scenarios. That was another very difficult thing for me. Why I'm saying this, why I'm reliving all this and telling you all this, these different specific things, is when I look at 2018, I can look at it as very painful, very dark, a lot of life realizations, a lot of things that I think about and realize this started at this point in life. Okay, this over here started at this point. How do you confront that problem? How do you heal? How do you truly let it go? And in this year, more than any other year, I have cried and I have prayed harder about those scenarios, saying, I am trying everything I can. How do I actually release it? I truly don't want to hold it in anymore. I don't want to try to control it and hold it in, the pain, the anger, whatever. I want to let it go. I don't want to react to it anymore. It's been very difficult because for whatever reason, I still need to experience something or figure out something or process something to be able to truly let it go. So how I look at it as 2018 for me is a painful year. Do I want it gone? Yes. But am I running from it? No, because I realize it is a very important year. Look at it that way. Take all of the muck that's sitting on the surface, like I said. You can't rinse it off because you haven't dealt with it yet. So it's all the muck that started coming up that made it a bad year. But figure out that is a golden opportunity. Every scenario that caused us pain is a golden opportunity, and a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of people, I don't think, realize what an opportunity it is when you are experiencing a deep emotional issue, because to me it's the universe pounding on your door, no longer just tapping on a window, but pounding on your door saying, you know what? Enough of this nonsense. Deal with it. Now it's time to deal with it. It's like the universe understands, well, like I said, whether you consider it God, the universe, your soul, your higher self, whatever you consider it, it comes to a valid point. It comes to a point in life when it's supposed to happen, that now is your time to deal with this. And I personally think that in my life, that the reason these things happen is because 2019 is supposed to be a golden year for me. I believe that a lot of what I'm processing and have been processing and dealing with is with purpose, and that leads me, or is going to lead me, to a wonderful place. Okay, I truly, as much as I fight closing off my heart when it comes to the romantic part, and it is hard, let me tell you, and I go back and forth, so it might sound like I'm a hypocrite, because if you saw me in person, you'd be like, oh, okay, what about all that you said on the radio? Now you're ready to say, oh, the heck with this, I'm not opening myself up to this anymore. Well, it's a process. okay? Because I'm constantly struggling with that, because deep inside I don't want that to happen. That's a process. So one of the most important things I think is coming from this year of being so painful in that area, in other areas that started coming up, all of it coming up so harshly. I'm getting excited about the new year because I realize those are all triggers to learn the lessons, to figure out where the problems lie, learn the lessons, and then once you actually are able to process things, you can release them. I think that, like I said, the universe or my higher self or my soul or whatever pushed me down so hard this time because it says you're ready. You are strong enough to deal with this. And guess what? As soon as you deal with this, that perfect, for me, perfect soulmate or perfect scenario, perfect opportunity, whatever, golden friendships, whatever the case scenario is around the corner, but I'm not you. So here's the thing. Let me explain it because I'm picturing it. Picture you're looking, we'll go back to the romantic thing, not that I want to harp on it, but because a lot of people I think can relate to this. Say you're in my position and you've had similar situations happen over and over. You have certain reactions. Every single time it happens, it strengthens that defensive mode. It makes it harder to stay open. It makes it very painful. Okay, then you get to that point where you're like me and you say, I need to unleash this. I need to figure it out. Why this is so hard for me. Why it hurts so much. Why I'm sabotaging things. Whatever the case scenario is. Okay, if you can relate to this, stay tuned because here's my visualization. Okay, when you get to that point where the universe says, you're ready. You are strong enough because you've opened your mind up enough to understand the importance of healing and processing. What have I been talking about the last couple of years? The importance that I've realized about healing and processing and figuring out who I am. Because once you figure out who you are, once you are able to process, to figure out, and then process, heal from, release a situation, then guess what? You might have broken that chain reaction. So maybe that golden door that I'm picturing, guess what could be on the other side in this case scenario? And I'm getting chills, so I think I'm onto something here. And this is why I'm excited about it. Even though I may have looked at my own situations this year as painful because I truly felt that. I'll be honest, I truly felt like I had a connection and a love for someone, and I couldn't let that go, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't working because it made sense to me. Maybe that's why that particular scenario, because it was a really hard scenario. It was something that I had to deal with. I had no choice. I couldn't run from it. Okay? Now, when I thought about it, I'm like, wow, why did I get myself into this scenario? Because now I can't turn my back. Out of sight, out of mind doesn't exist in this scenario. Okay? When I looked at it that way and tried to figure it out, I realized it was with purpose. In this particular case, the reason why it was so confusing, the reason why it ended up being a scenario that forced me to learn to deal in a better way is maybe I needed that to open me up. I needed that scenario to open me up on a personal level, let somebody in, let them kind of trigger me to feel the pain and remember that there's pain and familiarization in that pain, to go back in time, that amongst many different scenarios to trigger me, to go back and realize where it all started or what all scenarios happened or whatever created my mindset and such, so that I'm forced to deal with it. In this case, I'm forced to deal with it so that when I get to that golden door, you know, the magical door, the universe has the actual soulmate on the other side of that door. And guess what? If I was running from 2018 and looking at it as just a painful year and not trying to process, not trying to approach the door with a good attitude and a clean slate, then I could open that door and walk right past that soulmate. I would never connect with them because I'm not ready. So I'm trying to learn to take the good out of the really ugly in the year. Okay, so picture that. Picture the reason that it's very important to pay attention to all the life lessons and understand that they are life lessons, and understand that the more they hurt, the more somebody is prompting us to get down and deep and figure it out and change what we're doing, how we're dealing with things. Figure it out to be able to release it, because then when you release it, then you'll actually be able to love the right way. Okay, in my case, I talk about the romantic thing. There's other areas of life as well, but that part seems to mess me up a lot. And that was another question I had, is why do I end up feeling so, it just ends up feeling so deep and emotional and painful? Why do I need to stay away from that kind of love? Again, do I need to lock it up in a little box like I always have deep inside, going, I'm completely happy all around there? I can open my heart to everybody and anybody, but you open up that little box, it's much deeper, and it feels like a knife. Like you open it up and a knife comes in. That's what it feels like. Well, that's why I think I've had to experience what I've had to experience. It's so that I can finally find a way and a reason to release it, and then I will be ready for the relationship that I so desire. Okay, not that I desire relationships so bad, but the particular relationship, if I'm gonna be in it, there's a certain type of relationship that I desire. Okay, so don't mix up those things, because I'm not that person, and I think that's important as well, to make sure that you are 100% with yourself. Get to know yourself, like I said, heal from past damage and all that kind of stuff on your own, so that you can properly love someone else when it comes to relationships. Now, this also has to do with friendships. I recently had an issue, and I didn't talk about it on here. It was too personal, and, it was unfair. But I went through a time with a friend of mine, somebody I was very close with. And I also went through this time, actually, with my parents, to tell you the truth. And I realized that I was closing up. I was going through such a dark time. Nobody could help me. And that's when it got scary, because I realized that nobody could help me. Even when people started realizing it, and there was very few people that I actually let know that I was going through that. There was very few people who saw it and stuck around, because most people would get quiet and walk away. Okay, that taught me a lot about my surroundings as well. But in that, not a boo-hoo thing, but in that, there were very few people that I would actually open up to, because I couldn't really tell them everything that was going on. I didn't really know. I just knew the pain. Okay, now I told my friend that I was going through a difficult time with, and we started talking. We stopped talking for a time, and then we started talking again. And I had to be completely honest, and I felt good that I was completely honest and did not hold anything back, said exactly what was on my mind, because I was in a place where it didn't matter to me at that moment who else was even in my life, because I realized that I needed to be my number one. I didn't have enough energy left to give to anyone else. I didn't have enough energy left to talk about my situations to make other people who might care. But I thought about it that way. It's like, so I'm going to use all this energy to make them feel better about my situation. When in all actuality, they're not going to make me feel better, because right now it's so deep within me. It's up to me to heal. It's up to me to find out what the problem is. So even telling other people every detail, I looked at as, I don't have the energy for that, because it's to relieve them, to make them feel better, to make them not worry about me. And I went through this time where I said, I'm going to be selfish right now, and I don't feel bad about that. I need to think of myself. Right now, I need to think of myself. I need to not worry about who's worried about me. I need to not worry about who doesn't care. I need to not worry about everybody else going through things, and I should be there for them, because I always am. I just talked about this last week, talking about your cup being half full. And when you're going through a deep, dark time, it's not selfish to stop and be there for yourself, because you have to fill up your own cup before you can actually even help others. Okay? So in going through all that, those were valuable life lessons. That's when I realized that the most darkest time, one of the darkest times in my life, because it was just a feeling inside. It wasn't necessarily situations happening. And people aren't going to understand that unless they are so deep into your life day to day. They're not going to understand that, no, I'm not really reacting to this specific situation. I have a lot of stuff that's deep inside coming up. I have a lot of stuff I'm dealing with that's hard for me to talk to you about, because I don't really know. All I know is it's stuff coming up. There's nothing anyone can do. It's this energy down below that has to come up. I have no choice but to feel it and experience it. and it's ugly. And like I was starting to say, panache desai, that's what he says. Process your feelings. Feel it. He's like, if you feel an emotion, feel it. Don't try to process it. Don't try to stifle it. He says, don't even try to make yourself feel better, which is what we tend to do. How many women break up with a guy and you end up with a tub of ice cream and, watching movies and all this kind of stuff, especially like comedies, or we do things, or guys do the same thing. Like when they break up, they go and they start, partying or whatever. It's masking the problem. It's trying to make us feel better. It's trying to build our self-esteem back up, when in all actuality, it's okay to, and it's needed to feel it, even if it's grief, even if it hurts so bad. I have hurt so bad with just in life, because of suppressed feelings, because of situations that's triggered things, to where it's a physical pain inside. My heart area will actually hurt. It feels deep. It feels like a knife. It feels like pressure, everything. That's what makes me realize it's so important. It's an energy thing. We have no choice. You have no choice. That's disease. That's everything else to suppress that energy. It's bad energy. Okay? So healing all that, letting yourself go through it. 2018, if you want to sit here looking at 2018 like I was looking at it, like painful as all get up, utilize that. Utilize that information. That's information you have. The fact that it's so painful makes you realize that 2018 is sending you some severe messages. It's releasing stuff from within. It's using all your outside sources, whether it's that guy you're in love with that doesn't feel the same way back, whether it's that court case on TV that people are reacting to that's causing us to respond, whatever. I think that's the universe using those particular people or those particular situations to trigger us. But what it's doing, it's triggering what's deep inside of us. And it's triggering it for good, so that we have no choice. But we do have a choice. We can continue to suppress it and let it build up, and then let the same thing happen the next year and never let it go, and then cause our bodies disease and pain and suffering and all this kind of stuff. Or the universe is saying, okay, now I'm going to use this situation over here that you chose as a human to involve yourself in, or develop feelings in that particular area with that friend, that lover, that whatever. I'm going to use that. That's going to be a catalyst now to get you to deal with your stuff. And your stuff is deep inside. That stuff other people can't really understand. They can't. So when you become that, I'm going to say enlightened. I'm enlightened in my life, I guess, to where you understand that everything that happens within that year or whatever, the harsher it is, the more it's taken you down deep. It's a very important year. It is the universe showing love. I know that sounds crazy because I've screamed, I've yelled, I've cried. I have been so upset this year. Probably 45 to 50%. No, probably 35 to 40% of my days have been, have had tears at some point in the day. Okay. So you can look at that. You could look at that as it's been a hard year. The universe hates you. God hates you. You're just being knocked down. The devil himself, which believe me, I've actually thought about this, because I was in the paranormal, I thought, well, the devil's winning, or he's trying. He's truly trying, and this is how he does it, by little, and maybe that is the case, whatever. But I choose to end this year and end this next month working with the notion that the universe loves me, God loves me, my higher self loves me, because I am meant for amazing things, okay? It loves me enough to take me that far, to use every resource, every situation I've created as a human to trigger me, to say, well, if you're not going to just sit down and figure it out on your own, you need a little help, and I'm going to help you, and I'm going to push it until it comes up, and then you have that choice on what to do with it. And I've made the choice to allow it to come up and deal with it, so that I can fill up my cup, so that I can release negative energy, I can release old pains, I can heal properly from it. Because that golden door that I'm looking at for 2019, I'm not going to be running toward it. I'm going to be skipping, looking back on 2018, saying thank you so much for everything. And then I'm going to open that golden door, and hopefully I'll be a lot closer to that healing point. Probably won't be 100%, but I plan on hitting 2019 on a really good note, feeling very good about myself. Now, I've been working on everything from physical, getting in shape, feeling better about myself, building my own self-esteem, trying to deal with leftover issues, figure out how to deal with leftover issues that are causing me pain, learn the lessons from them, whatever. Trying to get some stuff done on my house, go and live in the moment like I've been talking about, so that I can end the year saying, look at everything I did this year. Look at all the concerts I've been to. Look at all the friends I've spent time with. Look at all the accomplishments I've had. Even though it feels like such a dark year, let's pay attention to all the good stuff. Okay. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pay attention to all the good stuff. And then I'm going to be even happier about myself, because even through that darkness, I still made that effort to live life for the first time. We talked about this. Episode 22, baby. You know by now, episode 22. Defining and tackling Mel's bucket list. To me, it had a lot of meaning to me. This is why I refer back to it so often, making me realize that my bucket list was going to be in the future for the rest of my life, because it had been for 20-some years. So even little things like, okay, I'm actually going to go and do on my days off. I'm going to go and I'm going to do, if there's a concert, if there's this or that. I wasn't doing that unless somebody else planned it, or unless I decided to make a plan with other people or whatever. I just didn't think about it. Well, this year, if you're on my Facebook page, or if you know me in person, you know that I've made that effort no matter what to go and do, to create memories, to start living life, even though this year is so painful. There are times when I went and I made a point to go and do, even though I was in tears doing it, because I was there by myself, and that was conflicting with other emotions that I was experiencing, thinking, why am I still here by myself? Why is my heart hurting so much? Why? Well, those are still golden opportunities to figure out why. Figure out what is lacking in life. Okay, look at it that way as well. A lot of the issues that may have happened throughout the year, it's triggering you somehow. It's trying to teach you something. I think every perceived negative situation, every bad feeling we have is teaching us something. It's some sort of lesson, okay? And that's what it was teaching me, is that I'm at a point in my life where I would truly be happy meeting that wonderful person, even if it's just that male friend to be best friends with and go and do things with. I started really looking around my surroundings, and even though I was going and doing and making memories, despite the fact that I didn't have that person beside me, it was painful, and that was teaching me a lesson. So I'm going to look at that as, I went through a painful time when I went there, but I went there. Look at me go. Okay, so I'm making those changes. In 2018, I worked my butt off to overcome, to process, to heal, to figure out, and also to keep living and start living, okay? So 2019 is not only going to be a habit, I've created a habit now of going and doing, and stop feeling so guilty about not doing this or doing that over here or whatever. Stop feeling so guilty about having feelings, toward this person or that person, or stop feeling so guilty about responding in a bad way, and understand that it's stuff that needs to be addressed within oneself. Okay, so that's how I'm looking at 2019. I want to hit it running. When I say I want 2019 to be mine, I mean it. That means dealing with and finishing up 2018 with gratitude. Because anytime we have gratitude for our rewards in life, anytime we have gratitude for our lessons in life, it's a good thing. Whenever we have gratitude, we draw more to us. Even if I have gratitude that I'm learning life lessons, if I have gratitude that stuff is coming up and being processed, it's probably going to provoke more to come up and be processed. But guess what? Deep in my soul, what I crave is that release. I crave that. I don't want to have issues in relationships. I don't want to have issues in friendships. I don't want to feel like I have to control everything in my life because of lack of trust, or lack of or fear of being let down, because that draws me experiencing letdowns. Okay, the more you fear something, you're concentrating on it, you're trying to fight it off, and then you experience it. That's kind of the way it goes too. I believe that's part of law of attraction. At least in my world it is. What you fear, you tend to try to control. When you try to control something, it's so easy to be let down unless everything goes exactly the way you want it. So, I really like where this show went tonight. Honestly, I started off and I did want to target I did want to target the lessons of 2018, and I did want to start people off this month of December. I wanted to start people off maybe with that mindset of paying attention to the good stuff of the year and trying to look at things in different ways so that it's not a wasted year in people's eyes. There are many years where I looked at as wasted years because all I remembered was the pain or just things that happened, and I wasn't paying attention to everything else. And now I'm so full of gratitude for every situation and every experience. I'm actually full of gratitude, even the painful ones, because like I said, I'm always going to look at things as a life lesson, something that's trying to tell me something, or a reward. Either way, that's life. That's actually a definition of life in my book. Okay, it's living it. It's experiencing all of that, experiencing emotions and everything else. So as much as it is an instinct for me to close off my heart when it comes to romance, I'm struggling to keep it open, because I think that if I don't keep it open, then the pain inside won't come out, and then I won't ever be able to allow anyone in. Okay, that's one area, and that was a big area for me because I had cut that off for so long. So opening it up was a risk, and then feeling the pain associated could have reinstilled the fact that I should close it off, but I'm choosing not to let that happen. Now I'll go back and forth with that, but I will always talk myself out of it because life is about learning lessons and such in my book. All right, so I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that I inspired you in some way with tonight's show. I feel good about it. I feel good about everything that I've learned just while talking to you tonight. It's the beginning of December. If anything, start paying attention this month to the good. Pay attention to the good. Learn the lessons from the perceived negative. Strive to make those changes. Figure out ways to do that. I may do another show, and I did this show. I think I did the show last year, or maybe the year before. Wow. I'm into saying the year before that. It's going on 3 years. May will be 3 years. I can't even believe it. But about just kind of my suggestions and possibilities to manifest, because at the beginning of the year it's all about manifesting and creating the person you want to be, creating the home you want to have, all this kind of stuff. It tends to be that way every year, manifesting your desires. So I think I'll probably end up having another show at the beginning of the year about manifesting our desires and everything that I've learned from last year to this year that could help. A lot of that's going to have to do with healing. It is, because in processing, because that's where I've been in life this whole year. So, all right. So I want to thank you once again for listening, and I hope that I made a difference in your life. I hope throughout the year I have. This is premature. I'll be talking this way probably at the end of the year. Enjoy December. Okay. Hold on to it. Slow it down a little bit. Slow it down so that you can end 2018 just thinking it was great. One way or another, it was great. Try to get out there and I suggest Facebook events will show you like all of the Christmas tree lightings and festivals. And I did not ever realize before Facebook events how much was going on around me. I've been going and doing. I've been visiting the different cities right around the corner from me and finding such amazing things to do. People all around. So if I'm going to, run into that soulmate with my hot coffee is what I always say. When I go through that golden door of 2019, who knows? Maybe I'll turn around tomorrow, go to some, Christmas event and run into my soulmate. And because I've had this frame of mind, it may actually work out. See how that works? I'm full of optimism. Even during dark times, I hold on to the faith. That is truly my superpower, and I love it. Okay. All right, so now stay tuned for Tiffany Lewis on Be the Change. Coming up next, I know she's been in Hawaii. I announced her last week, and then I found out she wasn't coming on. I neglected to look up and see if she was coming on. I haven't connected with her. Hope she had a great time. Tiffany, if you are coming on, I hope you had a wonderful time in Hawaii. I love the pictures. So hopefully, Tiffany will be coming on next on Be the Change. I will talk to you next Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on clearsourceradio.com. Good night, everybody.